Well, hello there. This video is about a new secondary PC. And since I'm in a tinkering mood currently and Valve announced a new Steam machine, I decided to make a secondary system on which I then run SteamOS, or Blazite or Chimera OS, depending on what works best for me. The case used for this purpose will be this one here, the Note 102 from Fractal Design, which I've used 8 years ago already for my first Steam machine build. It still looks like back then, with the only issues being the piece of plastic missing that led light from the power LED on the under board next to the power button, and that one foot here missing on the bottom. And I am leaving the case as is on its stand, or I'll 3D print a new foot for it. If I'm going to do that, I'll be using my 3D printer here. I found a model of the feet already on Thingiverse before. Here I arrange the parts a bit for later. For now, I'm taking the B550 mainboard. That's the board, which now gets unpacked and then populated with the other components. Oh yes, that's the I/O shield. It has no printing on it, just a very cheap build it seems. 2 SATA cables, all one, and the 2 antennas for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. For RAM I have this one here, no ballistic sticks in this package, but rather 2x8GB G-Skill AGS sticks with 3 GHz clock speed at least. That should do the job, I guess. Going to populate the RAM here first. Gotta see first which direction it wants to sit. Sits tight. Next, the NVMe slot, starting with the screw. And up here another one. And here the NVMe will be placed. This one may not be the best, but the WD Blue SN550 or whatever they call it should fit and work well here. That's how it looks like, and that's how it will be placed on the board. Again, a little cut, but here I'll push the drive down next. But before I need to remove the protected film here, and then this piece gets secured in place. Then it's time to screw this thing back together. And now the NVMe shield is back in place as well. Now that the drive is installed, it's time to continue with the CPU here. The Ryzen 5700X, which will go in this build. The lever is pulled up, and it's just important to align the small notch here with that one on the CPU socket. Okay, I'm a little scared here, because it's easy to bend those pins, but they should fit. Okay. It's inserted. CPU is in place. Now I have to remove the 2 brackets here, after which the cooler gets installed too. Doing this one-handed is really difficult, folks. And thus, this bracket is removed. Now for the other one. Alright. Next up for the funniest part of all, applying thermal paste off screen. 1 week later. I couldn't progress anymore because of the Noctua cooler, which was designed with an older Intel CPU socket in mind. Fortunately, Noctua was very accommodating and fair. I bought a CPU fan around about 8 years ago when Noctua was very kind, as they have sent me an AM4 mount kit free of charge within 3 business days, which I'll now try to put on the cooler and install it then to the board. That's how the whole one looks like. Taking this piece here, put it on the other side of the board, checking for the openings to align properly, and looks good. Fits perfectly too. Checking this one here as it behaves a little weird. Yeah, this looks fine now. Now here are the brackets and everything. Now for these here. This here is the cooler, still with the Intel brackets. These are the screws for the brackets. Going to loosen these now and then replace with the AM4 ones so it fits the board. Alright, loosened it now, which looks something like that, only needs to fixate the new ones. Next up these. Well, this one is a little weird, but basically one has to make the fan cables so it doesn't interfere with anything and then plug it into the corresponding header. With that part done, placing it inside the case is next. That's now how this nice case looks inside. First I'll remove the cage for those data SSDs, so there's a bit more space to work with. After that I will have to look for how I continue here. That's not needed anymore. Everything here is running off the NVMe. Going to split this part here in two now so I can install the graphics card properly. Yep. Up here was a security bit. The connector was easily removable. And it's here. And the entire riser is pretty much connected to the case. Another funny part, the mainboard, the cheapest back I/O I've seen in a long time. Shipping with a well-known company such as ASRock. It's installed in place and I must really say, it's a little off, but I didn't cut myself. It's incredibly soft and for being made of aluminium, this is cool. Looking here for the board to fit correctly. That's somewhat how it should look like. Now say hello to a part of my collection of screws. I put 4 of these here now. Alright. Just trying to make sure the cable here sits snugly again. Will do. Now the board is set in place and I realize I have to deal with these cables here now. Starting with this already. And the plugs for the audio interface are up here, at the end. This is a little complicated, my dudes. Good. These are actual USB 3 headers. As you can tell by the plug, we can now guide these through here, through this opening. Making sure this nose is facing up. Yep, that's tight. Things went rather easy this time around, and that's although I didn't put PCs together in a while. No, the PSU is next on the list. Now ignore this mess here, please. I'm a week ahead again and I'm almost finished with this build here. Unfortunately, the Arc A580 caused issues, even with Bazite. And yeah, at least I still have my Radeon RX 580. And well, I wonder if Steam Machine, of course, that can still play some more modern titles, and thus I purchased the 9060 XT. It should fit in there in personal trouble. Sadly, it's only the 8GB version, but really guys, I think all my games run flawless with 8GB anyway, and I'm no one who plays constantly AAA titles, so it will be fine for the TV. First gotta show this here though. I really like how the card looks. It looks really nice, even on the back and everything. Everything is smooth and it's a really nice looking card. Like a lot. Also only one 8-pin socket. I'm sorry, but I had to put this thing back together without not much was missing anyway. Only had to install the graphics card properly, and I somehow had to deal with the cable management here, which was always the most difficult part and has always been. I'm still very happy about how good this I/O shield turned out to be. Other than that, still 3D printed foot, because it's still missing, and of course, putting those screws would be a good idea too. Okay, and here we have the 3D printed replacement foot, which I have to get off the plate and then glue it to the case. Well, this is the foot part. Placing it upside down, and then we'll look how it turns out. Okay, this is already a little too much glue. Gotta wipe these sides quickly, otherwise things get worse. After I've glued my fingers together, time to put it back in place and hope everything works. Does it look good? Oh, does it work? Hopefully. Shouldn't touch it, so that glue can dry. In the meantime though, I'm taking the flash drive and repair it. Then it's time now to install SteamOS, or Bazite. Quickly connect the keyboard and let's go! New CPU installed, blah 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 blah. Press Y to reset if you have the BitLocker encryption enabled. Press Enter key, blah blah blah. After the BIOS played stupid for a bit, the machine apparently now starts SteamOS, and I'm very excited. Oh, there's the cursor! Maybe should have used another flash drive. It's a little slow, but there's SteamOS. Even if it doesn't look like it. Maybe I should get a USB mouse. But this is it. That's the recovery image. Well, bad news. I'm getting seconds per frame. Then Bazite's next. No, that looks totally different. Also the PC sounds completely different from before. This looks and feels much better. Especially better than back then when I tried to install it on the INU. Where I had maybe only like a small cutout of the screen. Certainly looks better. Sticking with English here since I played most games in that language anyway. And also my keyboard is using the ANSI layout. Everything looks fine here. I would love to encrypt my parts, but I'm too lazy to enter the passphrase every time on a Steam machine. Steam node. And next, the installation went through very quickly. Don't even know how long it took. Maybe 4 to 5 minutes because of the aged flash drive. That was easily done. Nothing here for installation duration, but yes. Let's restart the machine. Saying yes here. Password is Universal Blue. Looks pretty normal now, doesn't it? Probably 5 more resets and we're good to go. There we are! After another minute of waiting time. Oh well. Now where's Germany? at least Central Europe. There it is. Wi-Fi is detected, but I don't need it right now. Here we are for real. Obviously I won't log in on screen, but give me a sec. Ah, nice. I can already see my games in the background. And because I have no interest in using keyboard and mouse on a quote-unquote console, please go back to the desk. Instead, ta-da! The only controller that makes sense for this thing, the Steam controller. Now here I am. I'm technically in SteamOS, but this is better. It could do much more, but I'm trying to install some games of Wii now. Another 2 weeks that passed and everything still works. I'm very happy with the results. Also connected my DualShock 3 controller here, using an adapter for Type-C power, and as you may have seen before, but I'm also playing Arc Riders with this controller, which works incredibly well. Unfortunately, the DualShock 3 has no gyro support under Linux, so yeah, and my DualShock 4 is a little broken. Maybe I'm using the Switch Pro controller instead. Okay, maybe not the brightest I did to showcase this game with only one hand available while you have the phone with the other. But as you can see, everything seems to work fine here. And I'm very happy about this. All these games work, just like Arc Raiders. What I didn't yet tried was to run VR games with the 960, but I suppose it should work if my 5700 can pull it up too. Something I should add is that I replaced Better by Now 2 with MarrowOS, because I thought it would help with PCI issues I had before, but it turns out that the riser inside this case is built with PCIe 3.0 in mind, whereas the graphics cards were designed for 5.0, and I simply had to turn down the compatibility 3.0, and that did the trick. For now, I'll probably stick with MarrowOS. I'm not missing much, and this one has emulators built in already, which is pretty handy. Also, the Flatpak support is pretty nice. Same with the emulator support. You can add software and ROMs just via the browser, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, maybe I'll also just switch back to SteamOS at some point. At the end of the day, all these 3 distros are basically the same, and to play games it's more than enough. But for example, Blizzard has home folder encryption, which is something SteamOS doesn't have, and that will be pretty cool in the long term. I'm not going to spend any further thoughts on this right now though. And yeah, that's how it is. The controller is working nicely. I can play all my games without running into any limits, and I got a nice project to complete, which is or was my actual idea behind all this. It was less important to me to have a new Steam machine or the new Steam machine before Valve released it. I just wanted to do something with the leftover parts I had lying around. I hoped it was entertaining to you, and I'm sorry for the microphone noise here. I don't know what it is, but yeah, some people were interested in this build project of mine, and so here it is. Have a nice day, and until next time, alright?